Welcome back. I'm Ryan Johnson.
Jacob Ross.
From Dayton Magic Club. DaytonMagicClubWebsite.com, your source for all things magic in Dayton and the surrounding area.
Right.
Southwestern Ohio.
Yes.
Or in general. I don't know. We're here at Game Haven in Riverside, Ohio, where you can get more for your games.
That is correct.
And we are bringing you round 2 of Standard tonight.
Yes.
For those of you who were here in round 1, you know that we're doing Standard and Modern side by side tonight for F&M.
Yep.
We're going to do Standard again this round, and we'll see what's going on next round. Very well likely could be, I think, Modern. We'll see. So, for this feature match, we walked around. We picked out something pretty special, I think.
Yes.
We don't know what Zach's playing.
No, I saw blue and black cards.
Okay.
That's all I can give you.
That's fair.
Yes.
I actually think, now that you say that, he might be on straight blue-black control.
Interesting. Okay.
Kyle is on Maze's End.
Yes.
Now, Kyle, who is one of the Dayton Magic Club regulars, a stalwart, part of the Team Dayton Magic group.
As is Zach.
As is Zach, absolutely. Kyle, much more of a standard specialist.
Yeah, it's kind of his forte.
Yeah. Zach, a little more of an eternal format player.
Yeah.
But he has liked this blue-black control list he's been working on, so I bet he's playing that tonight. I'd forgotten, but yeah, he's big on that.
Excellent.
Kyle and Cassie have been working on this Maze's End list. It's a little different than the traditional Turbo Fog style Maze's End list.
Yes.
There are no fogs.
Right.
It is not a fog until you Maze's End them out. It's a main deck crackling perimeter.
Yeah.
And a bunch of wraths and like removal.
Right.
So more of like a traditional board control style deck.
That's correct. Yeah.
So they think that's a superior build because you don't run out of fogs. You just keep wrathing.
Right.
And you have more victory conditions because you have the crackling perimeters to potentially win with as well.
Yeah.
So this should be interesting. Part of the issue, of course, is that your deck full of sweepers and removal isn't necessarily set up to fight a control deck.
Right.
But then again, your control deck full of counter spells and removal isn't necessarily set up to break up Maze's End.
Perfect.
So, I think they got to the point where all of their guild gates are foil, too. I think they have foil Maze's Ends and a full set of foil guild gates.
That's dedicated. That's something else.
That's something else. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. This is definitely not the way the meta that either of these two decks were designed to fight, right? This is
so this is going to be kind of this reminds me of like the first MMA.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, we're going to have this boxer fight this guy who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And we'll see who wins.
Neither of them trained to fight each other.
Right.
So, who can adapt better?
Exactly.
So we'll see how that goes.
I think Kyle won the die roll. I think. And and that's kind of interesting. The fact that Kyle has the perimeter in his deck, since Zach doesn't have access to whites, typically the colors blue and black are not good at removing enchantments.
This is true.
So if Kyle can get that to stick, then I think Zach will be in trouble.
Yes, I agree with that. I think, depending on the speed of Zach's clock, Maze's End is actually traditionally pretty good against the control decks, because control decks don't have a good way to break up the Maze's End engine.
Right.
And they don't have a good way of racing it either. So I don't know what Zach is using as his primary victory condition. If it's like Aetherling can theoretically race.
Yes.
If it's the real long game style control decks we've been seeing kind of in vogue lately in Standard, more of the blue-white flavor.
Right.
I think those decks would actually be very bad against these Maze's End decks. They just don't have a great way to stop it.
Yeah.
So Kyle doing what he does, playing just a random collection of guild gates.
Yeah. Zach with the ideal start of scrying.
Yep.
He's not going to need his counter spells anytime soon.
I think a big part of Zach's game plan here is manipulate your deck to draw the relevant cards. There are not many of them, but you do have more ways to see them than a lot of types of decks would. You have a lot of scry and a lot of ways to dig for your relevant cards. Is that a Maze's End?
That's the Maze's End. So the namesake card is in play.
Kyle is online. The clock has started.
Okay, and now
is that a Nightfell Spectre?
Yeah. So Zach has his clock.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Game 3 life, right?
Kyle and Cassie playing those main deck Centaur healers.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that Zach would be able to get various guild gates.
Yeah.
What I want to see very badly, and it's not going to happen, but I want Zach to win with Maze's End.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what we have here is a Nightveil Spectre.
Taking a Gold Guard.
Taking Guard Charm, and that is a Desecration Demon, so it might actually more of a blue-black Devotion style deck.
Yeah. Is what I just said possible?
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind.
I think what we could see happen, this is also unlikely but theoretically possible, is for Nightveil Spectre take all the copies of one specific guild game.
Yeah. Well, I get not likely.
So they'll only play 2 or 3 copies of some of them.
Right. So Kyle has 3 of the guild games that he needs so far. 3 of the unique ones. He's going to go ahead and search.
The worst thing the Maze's End deck can do is play 2 of the same guild gate.
That's a nightmare. you waste, one land drop per turn, you don't want to waste it.
Yeah,
you know?
that comes into play tapped.
Yes, guaranteed, right. And like we said, this is the ideal start of that deck.
Yeah, I was thinking he was a little more on the control roll, but it's actually blue-black.
Blue-black.
It's very much the style of the Devotion, the mono-black Devotion.
Right.
Which is kind of a mid-range aggro deck with blue cards.
Yeah.
I think is really much more closer to what it is, which I think is better positioned to win this game than a control deck, purely because you have the ability to pressure. And here's an Ashiok. Now, that scenario we talked about, with Zach actually exiling a critical mass of guild gates, it just became a lot more likely.
Right. I believe a Centaur Healer and the Denger guild gate got removed.
Yeah. And we had Zach Doomblade, the Centaur Healer, before combat, so that Kyle could not feed into the Desecration Demon.
So Kyle, this is going to be hard.
Well, Kyle needs a sweeper now.
There it is.
And there it is.
All right. Never mind. Not hard.
Now, beating Ashiok shouldn't be too challenging because it's Ashiok's ultimate doesn't actually win the game.
Right. Yeah.
So Ashiok is here to put pressure on people in a different way. It's actually an interesting combination with the Nightveil Spectre, where you're playing with your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
And against decks that play more cards that aren't like 30 guild gates, it's probably a more powerful 1-2 punch.
Yeah. This mill effect is not super effective against.
No. Typically, you want to take a cheap, efficient threat and then play it, and then take another one and play it, alternating turns with Ashiok.
Right.
I'm not 100% convinced that Ashiok's home is necessarily standard, where the creatures are larger right now. Real mid-range, a lot of 4 and 5 drops, and 6 drops. But depending on the cards you put around it, I think its ability is certainly very powerful.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And Standard is certainly a creature-dominated format right now, so you could take like a Pack Rat or something and just be insane.
The days of any sort of combo deck in Standard are very far behind.
And the true control decks are here, but a little more uncommon. And there's really not even like a hybrid. You have those hybrid like aggro
control decks.
Yeah. It's all these mid-rangey big guys crashing into each other.
It's interesting because the reason aggro control kind of exists.
Is that a Thassa?
Yeah. One of the reasons why aggro control ever saw play, it was to fight combo decks.
Yeah.
But there's no combo decks.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Kyle's getting close. Well, not all that close, but he's getting there. The engine is online. He's not under all that much pressure. Zach did cast the Centaur Healer. With Ashiok.
Yes.
Turn burn you.
Take 2.
Redirect
Ashiok.
Okay, killing Ashiok. Well, he has the opportunity.
Absolutely.
He's not going to win with damage, so the burn you doesn't. Might as well get that Planeswalker off the board. It does do relevant things. It helps find threats.
Ooh, and a detention sphere.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. That this version of Maze's End plays much more like a 5-color control deck.
Yeah,
with a they can and you can also use Maze's End in this deck, kind of like Thawing Glaciers in the old control decks, where it just makes your land drop every turn.
Right.
Whether or not it's going to win you the game in 10 turns, whatever. So you can see he's playing non-guild gate lands.
Right.
Because you're playing 5-color control.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I'd love to see a Crackling Perimeter. Card is sweet.
Yeah. A basic Swan, that's boring. Come on.
So let's see. We got Kyle at 10 life. Now it's starting to be the point where your life points start to matter. You got to really start rationing. We can spend the first 10 or so pretty freely.
Right.
But without creatures that feed the Desecration Demon, you don't want to just, like, get murdered by it.
Right, yeah.
What do we got here?
I see another D-Sphere. Oh, that's the Gatekeeper. Yeah, he'll gain 7 life. And D-Sphere on...
Probably on Thassa, yeah.
Yeah, the Biden. Yeah,
now we can block.
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons, like, to play this deck over a more standard control deck, just because you have that's a really powerful effect.
Right, yeah. Zach, go ahead and use the Doomblade to clear out the... He's not going to do much else in this.
Exactly. I think Zach is at the point where if he can catch Kyle tapped out and get damage in, he wants to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Burn a Doomblade on a relatively inconsequential creature if that's what it takes, but get that damage in.
He plays an Erebos and another Ashiok.
All right, Ashiok pluses. One thing that fascinates me about Ashiok, and I know that he's not... Is that a Vraska?
I saw Selesnya Gilgate and something else.
But one thing that fascinates me about Ashiok is I know that he's not considered to be worth Vraska.
Okay. So Vraska's Supreme Verdict and Selesnya Gilgate.
That's a pretty good.
Yeah.
Is that Ashiok starts with 3 loyalty and pluses up to 5 for 3 mana. Like, that's pretty relevant to me.
Right.
I know his ability isn't considered to be the most powerful planeswalker you can play right now, but that's certainly interesting.
Yeah. And yet another Doomblade. Doomblade. It's interesting.
And Zach is basically saying, I'm playing blue-black. I don't have any way to remove these enchantments. These are basically just exiled.
Right. And the Erebos very far away from getting devoted.
Yes. Well, with Zach under no pressure on his life total right now, I don't know if he knows about the crackling perimeter. He's going to start drawing a lot of cards.
Right. And that might come back to bite him. Obviously, if you're used to the old Maces in deck, I could see falling into a trap.
Yeah, just drawing down to 1 life, really freely.
There's a lot of traps you can fall into playing as Kyle's version because you might overextend without even having Wrath on the radar.
Yeah.
Now, the old versions did play Wrath.
Yeah.
But if you're not used to playing Mazes, then you might not see that coming.
Exactly. So, I kind of like the theory, the philosophy behind this version of Mace's End.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's like, why don't I just play the best control cards in Standard?
And just kind of give up, quote-unquote, on the mana base.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you have enough time, the Mace's Ends will fix your mana.
Exactly.
It's still rough, but, like...
They can't see your air quotes, though.
Well,
So, how many unique guild gates is that?
I believe that's 5.
5, that's 2 Mace's Ends, though.
So there's 4 unique. No, 5.
5, but he's going to be able to get 2 a turn now.
Yes.
So that's pretty quick.
So that's...
7, 9, 11.
And then win.
Yeah. 3-turn clock.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 7, 9, then 10, then bounce and win. Yeah. So it's a 3-turn clock with the Mace's Ends. I want to say that I kind of like Kyle's spot here.
The Centaur Healer, I don't think beats...
The Centaur Healer can attack 3 times.
Right.
And get him down to 2.
Right. So Zach needs a guy.
He needs pressure, and he needs to be in the next turn. He has 2 turns to draw additional pressure, and just hope Kyle has nothing.
Yeah. So, Zach's going to be drawing cards with his Erebos.
Erebos is powerful here.
Yes. I mean, he doesn't really care about his life total.
At this point, he's counting out.
At this point, you're dead to Mazes in, so you need to get a clock now. You need some form of pressure.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Not pressure in the form of, like, Planeswalkers either. I mean,
no, it's got to be a clock.
Yeah. If he can get Devotion on the Erebos, all of a sudden,
that's
things
true.
change.
A Nightveil Spectre.
Yeah, a Nightveil Spectre and something else.
Yeah.
We'll do it. So
what are we doing here?
Nightveil Spectre. Ooh, Dustmantle Seer.
Dustmantle Seer.
Okay, so now he does have Devotion, and this is an attack for 8, I believe.
Yes.
And
okay.
As Joe pointed out, if Kyle has a Supreme Verdict, all this is...
For naught.
Yeah, for naught.
Probably, I don't know, maybe ends the game. A sweeping effect right here.
I would think so, but...
Nope.
All right. Kyle cannot win.
Well, that's what he needed right there, was that level of pressure.
Yeah.
Worth pointing out, Erebos says your opponents cannot gain life. So...
Surprisingly relevant.
Surprisingly relevant here. Normally, that's not the reason you're playing Erebos.
Right, yeah.
Although it's not completely irrelevant, strength circulation and things, but the main deck, big life swing type cards in Kyle's deck. So, interesting.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see how they sideboard.
We don't know what's in Kyle's sideboard. I think that was 2 crackling perimeters, maybe, that he just brought in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Barring some sort of Thoughtseize or counterspell, Zach's not going to be able to... Yeah, it's like you hear us. It's scary.
It is. It's eerie. So, that's good. Good here. You got to be afraid of Pithing Needle. When you're down a game, Pithing Needle, it's not a slam dunk your opponent has it, but I think you have to assume that they might, because you're down a game, and without Crackling Perimeter, you literally cannot beat it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Right.
Looking at his removal package, those Doom Blades probably not particularly good here.
Right.
So those will probably come out.
I think I saw a Turn and Burn.
Turn and Burn seems fine. Turn and Burn is a great answer to things like Desecration Demon. Those kind of big threats that Zach plays. So Zach's not necessarily going to swarm the board, making your sweepers a little less good. This deck seems much more like it's going to tap out on turn 3, 4, 5 to play one spell per turn for a couple of turns. So
and I believe Turn and Burn also kill Erebos. Because Indestructible is not an ability. Right?
Yeah, I think that works. It wouldn't have used to.
No.
Under the old templating, Indestructible was not a keyword. It was something that was true about a permanent.
Right.
Like color.
Yes.
Or or card type.
Yeah.
They changed it because that didn't make any sense.
It does not.
To be an ability that cards can gain and lose.
Right.
So...
So, the old Turn and Burn would not work on the Talcromath Aristocrat.
Yeah.
For example. Yeah. But now, it does. So, and I like that better. It makes way more sense.
I don't know what Zach might have for this matchup. It certainly wasn't on his radar when he built his sideboard.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Getting counterspells out seems likely.
Yeah.
If he's whatever he's got. Other than that, I don't know if he's got Pithing Needles. They're very good. So Kyle's bringing in 3 cards, 2 Crackling Perimeters, and a Turn and Burn.
Right.
Very likely for Doom Blades.
Yes.
Or other pinpoint removal.
Right. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, that is the URL for the Dayton Magic Club website.
Absolutely.
It is DaytonMagicClubwebsite.com.
Yeah. We publish content from all over southwestern Ohio.
Yes.
We're very interested in publishing your content.
Yes.
We love unsolicited articles, submissions. Tell us about your tournaments. Tell us about your events.
Yeah.
Tell us about your deck. Tell us about how you feel about Magic. We publish, really, if it relates to Magic, Magic culture, the Magic community, playing Magic in southwestern Ohio, we're really interested in your thoughts. So, send it to us. Check us out. The links to the editor are right there on the website.
On the website, yeah.
Check out our content from writers. Kyle McDaniel over here has written articles for us. Zach's written articles for us.
Yep.
If you're interested in their thoughts on these decks they've played before, decks they play in the future, that's the place to find them.
And the website also has a link to a calendar, which I use pretty regularly. To find local events.
Absolutely, and if you're the kind of person that schedules local events and want to appear on our calendar, let us know that too on the website. We'd love to promote your events.
Yep.
So, Team Dayton Magic, which is not all of Dayton Magic Club, but the sort of the competitive wing of Dayton Magic Club. We get together, we test together, we travel to events together.
Yeah.
We'll be taking 2 or 3 cars up both days.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was thinking about it before I got here. I was looking at the Facebook page.
Yep.
And there's multiple posts of people trying to organize rides to the Star City Games Open, and it just all kind of just fell together.
Yeah.
Everyone's willing to give people rides. And
yep. So we'll, if you see people at SCG Columbus wearing their Dayton Magic Club shirts, that'll be Team Dayton Magic out to defend our turf.
I still don't have mine.
Well, I don't tell you.
I should probably get one. Yeah. So you won't know who I am, but you can find Ryan and Joe and everyone else.
Absolutely. Check us out. Also, check out the Game Haven.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's right down the road from Wright State, so if you go to Wright State, it's 5 minutes away.
Yeah,
so.
Very close to Sinclair, very close to downtown here in Dayton. It is a great little game store here in Riverside. Got a great game room, got a great staff.
Yes.
All kinds of stuff, magic and non-magic, used video games, obscure video games, lots of board games, all that kind of stuff. So if they don't have it, they'll special order it for you. They've worked really closely with us to set up these sort of live streams and events.
Yeah, without the workers willing to put up with us, and Scott not willing to, allocate all of his resources to get this to work, then this would not be possible.
Absolutely. So we're very grateful to them, and it really is a great little store. So definitely come down and check that out if you're ever in the area.
If you ever need a copy of Double Dragon 3,
absolutely, this is the place to go.
Yeah.
If you ever need a Sega Genesis,
there was a Sega Genesis top loader that was just hanging out back here.
There's one right here on the desk.
It's literally right in front of us.
It's got a copy of the original Streets of Rage in it. It's a Genesis 3.
That's amazing.
It's a great store. They just have the coolest stuff all over the place if you're into any of that kind of stuff. So, looks like we're getting started here. That's enough talking about Game Haven. Enough talking about Dayton Magic Club. Let's talk about Magic.
All right. Well, we're off to Kyle's usual start of mulliganing to 5.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Kyle has mulliganed to 5. I want to say every time he's been on camera for us.
I feel bad. I really do.
I know.
And it's interesting. I think he opted to draw. Because I think Zach is up land drops. Or will be up land drop, rather.
Yeah, that's very possible. So, both players just kind of sculpting. No shots fired quite yet.
Right. Zach was able to scribe with his own speaker. I think he missed a land drop.
What's happening here?
I don't know.
All right. So,
if Joe can confirm if Kyle chose to draw,
is that a Sylvan Keratin?
Yes.
It's an interesting choice in a deck with Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, but like we pointed out, your 4th land drop will come into play tabbed.
That's true.
So if you're
you're willing to go down a card
to
make that happen.
It also fixes your somewhat horrendous mana base.
There's another card. It also, and I'm sure one of the main reasons it's in here, has 3 toughness.
Oh yeah, it gets in the way of a lot of things.
Yeah. If you're anticipating playing like red decks, like it can't be Searing Spear because it's hexproof.
Right, yeah.
And then it just blocks all other guys forever.
Right.
And I think that the mono red decks might actually be tricky for this deck since you're not all fogs. You're like turn 5 Wrath of God as your plan, and some of these really fast red decks might be something you're very concerned about.
Right.
Caught not under any pressure here.
Yeah.
He has a redundant guild gate, 2 redundant guild gates.
Yeah, so he has 3 unique ones,
yeah,
which is not ideal.
No Maze's End yet, but a Crackling Perimeter comes down and whew.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Zach is on a 4-turn clock. Or less than that, rather.
Yep.
So another Ashiok from Zach. Milling 2 distinct guild gates.
2 unique guild gates, yep.
And a Detention Sphere. So those Omen speakers are safe.
For now.
Yeah. Not that Kyle particularly cares about.
Nope. Although, again, without those Sylvan Keratins, they could be poking in. Like, they could be creating, like, some pressure, which is...
Yeah.
All right, what do we got here from Kyle?
I think I saw a turn and burn somewhere, so he must have burned the Ashiok. Because it is no longer in play, so that makes sense. And now, Zach finding a threat that can get over these Caryatids.
Nope.
9 more. Alright.
Turn and Burn is a pretty good Magic card.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have a home in this standard because there's no really blue-red strategy.
Another Omen Speaker.
Another Omen Speaker, so Zach
now has a 1 point per turn clock.
Yes. Yeah. Zach needs to find pressure, possibly a 4th land to deploy any sort of Desecration Demons that are hanging out in his hand.
I think against a lot of decks in this format, Zach's deck has a lot of inevitability.
Yeah.
With its, Desecration Demons and Gods and Planeswalkers. Against Kyle's deck, that is certainly not necessarily true. The longer the game goes, the happier Kyle is.
I believe that is true. Yeah. In this case, it sounds weird, but Zach is certainly the beatdown.
Yeah. No, there's Ashiok taken away.
Yeah. And then, yeah, get in for the point.
Yep, might as well. No reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to block, so...
Yeah. Kyle needs to draw a Maze's End or Crackling Perimeter here pretty soon just to really start turning the screws, take advantage of that. Just could not detention through that faster.
Wowzers.
Just to really take advantage of Zach's slow start. Kyle hasn't really been able to capitalize on that yet without drawing any of his engine pieces yet.
A point a turn is not going to deter Kyle very much.
What's that in his hand, the foil?
I want to say Merciless Eviction.
Oh, I think it's a Merciless Eviction. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, there's another redundant sort of wrath. Kyle appropriately assigning himself the control role.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a role that Kyle is very used to. He is definitely a control player at heart.
Yeah.
And definitely has been fond of the really glacially slow blue-white control decks. Like, the less space he has to waste to end the game, the happier he is. So.
Right, yeah. More spots for answers rather than threats.
That's definitely his style. So, we have the
weirdest standoff ever.
Your pretty standard game of Magic at this point.
Here's a card.
That is a Magic card. That's probably going to prompt a Merciless Eviction.
I would certainly think so.
Kyle will take advantage probably and draw a card first.
Yes.
And then that's the problem with playing that card.
Yeah.
There's a trigger only on Zach's upkeep? Okay, and triggers for both players. Okay.
Attack for 0. No, wait.
That's not right.
That can't be right. And there's a supreme verdict, I believe. You might be thinking about the Merciless Eviction, huh?
He assumed it was a supreme verdict, and I think there's a very reasonable assumption
that he is correct. Yeah.
He's doing some math, seeing if he has to pull the trigger this turn. I think you probably don't want to let Zach draw a bunch of cards.
Okay, so Kyle must feel like that he can hedge against this.
He's just going to gain a bunch of life here.
Yeah.
Something just really walloped our camera.
That's all right.
All right, it recovered pretty strongly. It's a pretty amazing marvel of engineering.
So I like that play from Kyle because now Zach might be thinking, he might not have some sort of wrath. So
that's the life gain card, right?
Yes, yeah. So Kyle gained some buffer.
8 life there?
7.
7 life?
Yeah.
So I believe we need to update life totals, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that correct? Was he at 10?
No, yeah. No,
okay,
this is correct. Yeah.
Okay. It's a little bit. I forgot that we are dealing with Twitch and have a little bit of latency.
Right.
Twitch infamous for its stream delay. So, interesting. And the other thing Kyle's got to be thinking about is he's got a pretty high life total. Oh, there's the Pithing Needle. I thought he might have it.
So I really, really would like to know what Zach.
Yeah, if you could update us, Joe, on what he named there. We're assuming Maze's End, but if he knows about Crackling Perimeter, I wouldn't be surprised at this point in the game if he possibly named that.
Right.
Now, but the other thing about this board state is Kyle can just say, I will take your Dark Confidant every turn, in my deck full of lands.
Right.
And until I have to kill it.
Right.
So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. He's not under, any sort of pressure where he's going to die.
Yeah.
So the Dust Mantle trigger, I'm not sure what that is.
That might be a Maze's End.
I think that's a Maze's End.
I don't know what it looks like on the Twitch end of things, but we just had a little bit of a degrade in our video there for a second.
Yeah. Things are kind of a little bit more difficult to see than usual, so if we get a card name wrong, then...
That's definitely why.
Right.
So...
So this is kind of a I think that's a whip.
That looks like a whip of Erebos to me.
That's actually a really good draw because now all of a sudden these rats like Kyle is leaning on not as impressive.
That's true. It also lets you build up a really big buffer for Crackling Perimeter.
Yes. Yeah, the lifelink is not a joke. So if Zach named Maze's End and lands the whip, this might be just almost enough. I mean, obviously Kyle has a bunch of Gilgates in play.
Yeah.
But instead of, the Gilgate being, 10 a turn or whatever, it'll be like 2 or 3.
Exactly. What do we got here?
I want to say... Okay, Centaur Healer.
Centaur Healer.
So
Kyle's content to draw some cards and gain some life here for a little while longer, it looks like.
The patience is...
yeah. You have to make the most of his relatively low. There's a Doomblade.
And this is also why Kyle might not have been playing this Wrath. If he's committing to the board, Zach will be
forced to try to.
Doomblade, not an all-star in this matchup, but anything to get cards out of Zach's hand.
Absolutely.
Information known and things like that.
Absolutely. And it lets you kind of get the maximum amount of value out of your limited number of sweepers, which is something you really have to capitalize on.
That is an Erebos. But
tricky. The noose is tightening.
Yes. So Kyle needs to get on this Wrath and perimeter plan immediately.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see if that happens, if Zach will have enough time to get his threats back into play and get some lifeline going. But Kyle's in a tough spot.
Yes. The burden is on Kyle to dig himself out of this situation for sure.
Right. Yeah, he's very clearly playing from behind.
Got a bunch of cards in his hand that we can't quite make out, but he's got a grip.
Yeah, Sphinx's Revelation is no joke here.
Yeah, that's true. Erebos, of course.
Not going to get his life back, but
would draw like 5 or 6 cards. Yeah. Start finding some of these must-find cards.
Yes. It's going to be an odd sequence of things in order to get that to go into his advantage.
So did we ever get an update confirming what that Python needle was on? We're just going to assume it's Mazes.
Got to assume it's Mazes then, yeah.
Kyle's got all the mana in the world and a group full of cards. You got to figure there's something he could do here.
Yeah.
He's definitely taking his time.
Time is not time. Like actual time, but I mean, clock speaking, or not even clock. That's a terrible word.
Stay with me here.
All right, so the amount of pressure Kyle's under right now, he needs more turns than he has.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah. So I wonder if he's going to go ahead and just clean up the board.
I think probably about that time.
Yeah.
Ooh, Vraska.
Yeah. All right.
So,
it'll be interesting.
Vraska's an answer to Pithing Needle, which is interesting.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, this Mazes Link can start going to work.
So we'll see what he chooses to destroy. Or no, did he plus it? No, he's just deciding.
Right. I mean, depending on what's in his hand is what he's going to take.
Absolutely.
Obviously, so.
Vraska destroying Pithing Needle, Rathu seems really, really good here.
Right. He might take the whip, actually.
Yeah, that is almost certainly correct.
Right. And then because once the threats are gone, Vraska can just take care of the Pithing Needle anyway. So, yeah, this is definitely the right order.
Oh, Abrupt Decay?
Abrupt Decay. Ooh.
On the needle. All right, Kyle is making moves here.
It all. Yeah. And then here comes Supreme Verdict. There it is. So the only thing that will remain in play for Zach is his Erebos. That has no devotion.
That was a turn.
Interestingly enough, if Zach cannot produce a certain number of creatures, and some assassins might be.
That would be awesome.
I've never seen a Vraska ultimate.
I've heard of them only in whispers.
Right.
Now, I thought that was going to take a sequence of turns from Kyle over the next couple of turns, but instead he just had it all right there.
Yeah, the stockpile of cards in his hand.
He was definitely sculpting towards that turn.
Yes.
He definitely wanted to clear the board after getting rid of the whip, and he definitely sequenced towards making that happen, and it was a pretty impressive turnaround for him. He's got a lot of guild gates. He's got an active maze.
Oh, Great Merchant. So,
wow.
Taking 6 here.
And it turns Erebos on, which is lethal.
Wow.
Ooh,
sheesh.
That was swinging.
Yes, it was.
Just when you thought Kyle was back in that game, we had instant devotion and an active god.
Right.
Now, it makes you wonder. Kyle consciously chose to leave the Dust Mantle Seer in play
for
several turns.
Yeah.
They both drew a couple of cards off of it. Obviously, Kyle was doing that to set up that turn. He needed to, he figured that he could sequence, draw a specific sequence of cards and get out of the situation. However, it did also let Zach assemble a very dangerous grip as well. So that's a decision that was probably pretty crucial to how the outcome of that game.
Right. I think Kyle did exactly what he had to do to try to get
Absolutely.
back in the game.
Sometimes your opponent has a hand of Night Veil Spectre, Grave Urchin of Asphodel, and Erebos in play, and that's just...
And it was also really important to note out is that Zach didn't really miss a point of damage anywhere.
Yeah.
So if he had, though, Kyle might have had one more turn.
Right. Another Wrath of God.
Yeah, that With's gone, so Kyle can untap his Sphinx's Revelation for $1 million, and it's way different.
This is true. Absolutely right.
So the fact that Zach navigated his combat steps correctly...
And sequenced his plays, even with his light amount of pressure, to maximize the amount of pressure he could generate.
Exactly, yeah.
So that was an interesting match.
Yeah, that was a lot different than what I had in mind.
Yeah. Turns out Grave Merchant is really good against
direct damage. I mean, it is what it is, Yeah.
So that was standard. Round 2.
Yes.
Zach Denger has won 2-0.
Yeah, with his somewhat different take on a mono black-ish devotion.
Absolutely. And we'll be back soon for round 3. As soon as round 3 fires. I believe Modern started earlier, so if we go with Modern, we won't have as long of a downtime.
Right.
So we may come back and find some interesting Modern matches for you guys. We might come back to Standard, depending on how the pairings work out and what we think the most interesting game to watch might be. So
yeah, there's some fascinating Modern decks that I would not mind seeing on camera.
Absolutely. So thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in soon for round 3. Game Haven, Riverside, Ohio, Dayton Magic Club.